So I did mention on the other video about how authority, people on the top of the hierarchy uh, responds to threat when the threat is us. Okay, the other video that I mentioned about it. But then there was one thing that a couple of days ago I was sharing with my son. I kind of thought that that might be important. So here's the thing, right? If we look at the IPPC record, IPPC is it? The environment study that we conducted recently. So in 10 years, no, in another 8 more years, what they actually forecast is that entire equator, yeah, from Singapore right up to, I think if I'm not wrong, right up from Singapore right up to Vietnam, all this going to be dry out. It's going to be dry. Means that most likely fresh water will be completely gone. So that's what I saw in the slides they shared. So, but then it's not a surprise. Okay, it's not a surprise. There's a specific reason why it's not a surprise. The reason why specifically it's not a surprise is that it is expected. It is expected to have climate events like this. We are living in a very dynamic Earth. It's not a static. It's alive. The Earth is alive, and it's constantly readjusting itself. And you can't change it. We can't change it. Okay, that's pretty much it. It's not that we doing something. Wait, hold on. We did something. Something that extended that issue. Means that it's supposed to happen a couple years back. We kind of extended it. This is somewhere this is just I'm picking out of the cloud. Okay, this one I'm speaking without data. What I mean by that is that we actually, by right, we should have already entered a stage where we're supposed to be in ice age. Instead of that, what we did is that by pollution, we kind of dragged the current climate that we are in. However, dry season is expected, which means that we are going into a dry season. But this is not the first time. That's something that we really need to understand. This is not the first time. This is not the first time we're gonna go into dry season. Okay? The reason why is that's the case is that if you really look back at the history, we need to really ask ourselves few questions. One of the basic questions we need to ask: what happened to Angkor Wat? What happened to some of the temples in Indonesia? They have strong civilization there. What happened to it? We really have to ask ourselves what happened to those civilizations. And then we also have to ask about what happened to Mayan, right? What happened to Mayan civilization? They had one of the advanced civilization, and suddenly it's gone. Okay, we need to ask that question. How about Egypt? How about Egypt, right? Egyptian, right? So they had all that. In India, they had a similar thing there as well. All that just we can blame on invasion and stuff, right? But this civilization, if I'm getting it right, they were gone before even British try to invade different kind of region of the country. So some of this past, like for example, Angkor Wat, it was buried. The entire place is buried. Mayan civilization as well, completely buried. A lot of other civilization is buried as well. Those civilizations had run into this climate crisis in the past. So, in terms of understanding some lessons, in terms of written language lesson, I'm not sure whether there is any written lesson on this or not. One thing we can look into, if I'm not wrong, is Bible, or in Islam, Al-Quran. I think the person is Jacob, right? We need to, if I got it right, they had drought for 9+ years. I can't really remember. They really had a long drought, really, really long drought. No rain for a long period of time. But then we have to realize that so very long drought. That's So there is a possibility having a long drought for 10 years. Imagine, you know, you don't have in a place in your where you're living, there's no rain for 10 years. That would be crazy. But that's what the IPCC records show us, right? What the environment studies indicated that we're going to go, we're going to see this in 8 years' time. But in terms of timeline, it's very hard to predict because we do not know how dynamically things are changing and moving. So we can't really set some timelines so that we can't predict how things will change. Hey, what the heck? Suddenly we had a asteroid flowing through sun, and then you kind of reduce the ray or what. Anything could happen, right? Okay. So, but the key thing that I've kind of stressed to my son is this one key thing: threat. Being a human and become a threat for the upper hierarchy leaders and staff. The problem here is that Earth system has its own way of managing its ecosystem. Means that it has ability to manage the Earth. That's what I've felt like, because the point I'm stress here is that is where Earth has this cycle, up and down. Up is a cycle. So there's a peak and valley. So every time the valley, when you hit valley, it's actually where we go into ice age, and as we go to peak is the where the temperature goes very high up. So during that peak and valley, we might die off during ice age. Most of the time, a lot of population, whatever animal or serve will come to cease during ice age, and then in some of us able to survive it, and then as the weather's getting better, be able to strive, right? We be able to grow the population. So you see, there's an automatic population reduction and automatic population increase. That is natural process where human population has been controlled. So it seems like that's how it works. If you look at the Mayan, or if you look at all the other civilizations, that seems like a trend, right? Maybe they might have died off, or maybe they just have to migrate elsewhere. So there's various of possibility there. But then the other problem is when people in authority taking control, try to control by this green agenda and so on. That's not. They usually go lean towards something that is not natural. That's where the key part of the problem is, where when humans take an action to control these changes, right, the environment changes, they always tend to become more like salvage. Those scam. They don't do it like what Earth naturally will do it, right? It's natural will do it. But if somebody sees you as a threat, yeah, it will be a problem. Which is why a reference to the Moses story is really good, where the leader at that time, Firaun at that time, actually see the people as a threat, and which is why he end up killing all the first male born, okay, because they are threat. So in this time era, that we are the threat, because the air we breathe, the energy we consume, has become a threat. So even like recently, I've been hearing this Netherlands farming protest. A lot of people will think that it's just a farmers, right? It's a farmer, but the thought process that people don't really get into their mindset is that it is a food. You depend on those food. If they're cutting food there, it means something else. They're cutting you off. So your value. So it's like that's how you have to see it, right? When people are really going toward that direction where they're cutting your resources, which means that you are a threat. It's not really a cow problem or something else problem. It's you are the problem. That's something that I'm often finding that people don't get it, or just that I don't know. The way I see it, that's how I see it. Um, so that's the concern is the Earth know how to and manage itself. Okay, that's my take. We shouldn't go any above. We do pollute the environment. I mean, I bet, I was walking at the beach a couple days ago and I was a bit surprised that the people who came there had their meal and leave everything behind just as it is. It's annoying, but the key part of the problem is that this is what a couple days ago I mentioned to one of the guy who, stressed that hey, we should take care of the environment and so on. So this is I had a discussion with him. The point that I told him is that everyone who's talking about green, exactly everyone who talk about green and about environmentalists or whatever heck, right? Is that they are shooting they are shooting on their foot themselves. Okay, that's pretty much straightforward. It is. The reason for it is you see that the item that we get, these people had, you can't really go correct them. You can't correct the end user. You can't really tell the end of the bit. I mean, they will not get it. A lot of people will not get it. Okay, people at the bottom of the hierarchy will not get it that they're causing a lot of problem. The reason why is that the entire industry that's supporting the air pollution are not affected. So when the environmentalists or whoever speaks about it, they go in targeting individual. For example, if you really look at I don't know which protest I see is where they protest fossil fuel something, right? They went at the roadside and then blocked cars at individual, which is kind of bum, right? So they didn't go all the way up to oil company or what to protest. They went an individual. It's not the source. So which is why their approach is really dumb, because when you go at a little bit higher up the chain, for example, if the pollution is, the polluter is plastic, let's use the plastic as an example. If we just ban the plastic from the top, from the producer itself, things would have evolved much more quicker. Means that we would have resolved this plastic problem a long time ago. But the problem, what they are saying, that they're targeting individual, is not the user of the plastic, which is kind of silly. That's my take. So which is why I find environmentalists are people who kind of